culmination and conclusion, but the larger implication of that, which it explicitly makes, is that the whole history of humanity is moving toward an end point, an apocalypse, a momentous event which will cast everything which preceded it in some kind of new light and make everything new and morally exonerate the horror that was necessary to reach that moment. In other words, to make the earth pure and clean and new. And science is not into this. Science's technology may be like a disloyal child of science, which could be captured by the millenarian dream. But science itself takes the view of time so far that it is a plastic medium, but not highly variable on the local scale that we inhabit, and therefore essentially trivial. But this revolution in thinking that begins with Jung's clarification of the notion of synchronicity and then comes up through all the delvings into the irrational in the 20th century, and certainly Jung and Freud's exploration of the unconscious, exonerates a different notion of time, or at least the validity of entertaining different notions of time. Technology arising out of the application of science to the conquest of nature, nevertheless is susceptible to millenarian expectations. The French sociologist Jacques Ellul was a radical technological sociologist, and he had a famous aphorism, which was, "There are no political solutions, only technological ones. The rest is propaganda." And this is certainly a radical expression of it, but it may well be true. I believe the Technological Society.
It's still in print and paperback.
And propaganda is another good one. Technology in the form of cybernetics is becoming the coral reef, or the technological excretion that is the truly hardwired portion of the unconscious now. And I see this as the feminine, the goddess, re-emerging into three-dimensional space in the form of this, what Teilhard de Chardin called the noosphere, but which is more correctly identified as Sophia, the emanation of wisdom as a feminine spirit, as Purusha, as electricity, which completely girdles the planet and transforms it into the alchemical stone, the entity. It is the planet which is the thing that is being worked on. This is why alchemy and history can be seen to be the same thing. This is why this conference is called Shamanism, Alchemy, and the Millennium, because it's my conviction that the historical process, mirroring intuitively these larger cosmic processes and smaller cosmic processes of complexification, is an actual intentionalization of the creation of this overmind, or not so much its creation, but its invocation into matter to save us, is essentially why this is happening. In other words, it's a Gnostic myth of the descent of the overmind into matter to recover what was lost into matter, which is the spark of being the oversoul in ourselves, to return to the imagination without having to pass through the narrow gate of death. And shamanism is related to the millennium because the shaman exemplifies the millennium before history. Iliad makes this clear, that before history, in ilio tempore, everything was perfect, and people flew and talked to the animals, and there was abundant food and no disease. The shaman is the only person who has retained this superhuman quality that existed before the fall into profane time. And the shaman, in all of his, her many adumbrations as alchemist, as scientist, as magician, as poet, has been the catalytic enzymatic personality which has sculpted the historical process and led it forward. And it has been mediated by the relationships to plants, which mediate a relationship to an undefinable intelligent force that you can call God or the genus loci or the extraterrestrials. The fact of the matter is that the depth and nature of it can apparently not be known, that it is controlling what is revealed about itself, and that people throughout history have discovered this. It is, in fact, what religion is in the absence of institutions. And in the presence of institutions, religion isn't. This is why Taoism is so attractive, because it understood and retained the idea that you could be in history and you could still know about the Tao and be in the Tao, which is really to be outside of history. And I think that there may be many ways to do it. What gatherings like this seem to indicate is that discursive thought is being given another chance from having been abandoned for a decade or so. So that this kind of noetic archaeology can be used to try and map out the human condition. The emergence of the feminine in this cybernetic matrix, and Ralph made this point yesterday, is paralleled by these breakthroughs in mathematics. Really, cybernetics is simply a branch of applied mathematics at this point and will become more so in the future. Space is the void into which this Gaia matrix, this maternal mama matrix, is going to expel the human intellect. It is a birth process. It is traumatic for the planet and for the people undergoing it, but it is natural and it is necessary, and it is important, I think, to have faith that it's going smoothly. We can now see the future in a way that even 15 years ago people couldn't see. I mean, if we keep our ducks in a row, the next 100, 200 years can be seen fairly clearly. All that we have to argue about is how fast you run the movie. In other words, will it be Starflight by 2010 or will it take till 2050? Will we have complete ability to transfer and integrate human consciousness into machines in shared states of group telepathy by the year 2000 or 2025? What is happening is that it's almost as though, it's almost parallel to the situation in Europe when the wars of religion finally dragged themselves out, and where people just finally, the way the late medieval stasis was broken up was people just got sick of it. They didn't have any great moral awakening, you know. They just said, bullshit, we don't care anymore whether you're a Huguenot or a Catholic or a you know, we've just had it, enough already. And I think that this kind of impatience is in certain places already and will grow, that capitalism is very impatient with the stodginess of mass media manipulated so-called democratic societies. And capitalism wants to forge ahead, who knows how humanely, but they do see the potential in the future. And many Western institutions see only the potential for despair in the future. To my mind, the future is endlessly bright, and the things that are going